So if you're ready to upgrade to a professional level mouthpiece, well, there's lots of options, but to be honest with you, most of them are super expensive. But what about if you've got a lower budget and you just want to spend less than $150 or £150 on a mouthpiece? Can you get something that actually sounds decent? Well, that's a question that I get a lot from our members over at Sax School Online. And so today I want to check out this mouthpiece. So this is a E Rousseau JDX mouthpiece, and it's kind of interesting. It's also very affordable. So today we're going to be checking out this mouthpiece. I've been playing on it for the last couple of weeks. I've got a few things to tell you about it, which might surprise you. By the way, if you're a regular on the channel, you might have noticed I'm actually playing on a Yanagisawa today. A little bit controversial for me, but we're doing something very exciting with that saxophone, and there'll be more information about that coming out on the channel really soon. So what do you think of the sound of the JDX? I have to say, I've been working on this mouthpiece for alto and tenor, and actually experimenting with bari and soprano for the last couple of weeks, and I really like it. And the thing that surprised me the most about this mouthpiece is the altissimo really pops out. I'll show you that in a second. But first of all, just a little bit of background if you're not familiar with this brand. So E Rousseau, he was like one of the greatest ever classical saxophonists and educators. So he's a real legend. And he's been making classical mouthpieces and jazz mouthpieces for a long time. He's passed away now, but these days the mouthpieces are made by Jody Jazz's business. And I have to say, one of the things that I really love about Jody Jazz is that the build quality is fantastic because they use very modern lathe techniques. The mouthpieces are always consistent, and that's why we recommend them to our sax school students all the time. And by the way, if we've not met before, my name's Nigel McGill, and I run a thing called Sax School Online, which helps thousands of saxophone players, from beginner players right through to pro players actually. But if you want to find out how we're helping those players and how we can help you improve your skills too, we're running a 14-day trial at the moment. I'll pop a link down below. Now that consistency I was talking about is actually super important. I get a bunch of these mouthpieces to test for our Sax School members, and I have to say every single one of them is perfect. Like, it's flawless. They all work great. They all look identical. And if you remember back in the olden days of buying mouthpieces, they always used to be different, right? They're handmade. There's a huge variety. Now the shape of this mouthpiece is really interesting. It's got quite a baffle on there and this sort of narrowness to the chamber as it goes down. And that definitely makes the mouthpiece sound brighter. In fact, if you look down the end of the mouthpiece, the cavity in there is really quite small. Now, normally that would make me a little bit concerned that it's going to be way too bright. And actually on the E Rousseau website, it does say that this mouthpiece is a versatile mouthpiece, but can tend to be a bit more bright. I have to say it does sound a little bit bright too, but there's a benefit that comes along with that, and that is this flexibility in the altissimo that I was mentioning. So I found it really easy to get all of the overtones out, but also I can just pop way up into the altissimo on the alto and on the tenor, and it makes it really effortless. So the E Rousseau JDX starts at about $165 for the alto. That's great value, I tell you what. And actually it's a huge step up from maybe a stock mouthpiece that might have come with your saxophone, or a beginner mouthpiece like a Yamaha 4C. You're going to be able to get a lot more colors out of your saxophone with something like this and have a lot more versatility. Now, it's interesting to note also that one of the mouthpieces that I have been recommending to our students, and lots of our students play actually, is the Jody Jazz HR Star. Now, you can see mine's well used. This is a great mouthpiece, and I think this is amazing value too, but it's about $50 more than the JDX. So you've got a couple of options. It's also quite interesting to compare how these mouthpieces look inside. I think the HR Star isn't quite as bright as the JDX, and its altissimo is excellent actually, but the JDX is actually easier for the altissimo for me. Now everyone's different. You might find you prefer one or the other, but if you're looking for an upgrade mouthpiece, these are definitely two at the top of my list that I'd suggest you check out, and these are definitely ones that I suggest to our members over at Sax School. You know, I really love the sound of this on the tenor sax. It's just verging on a little bit too bright for me, but the trade-off with the altissimo and the overtones, how they pop out, definitely makes it worth it. So I'm using a Silverstein Works ligature, pretty fancy, I quite like this one, but I'm also using a Leger 2.5 signature reed. Okay, so what are the things I don't like about the JDX? Well, first of all, it doesn't come with a ligature. Now, I suppose that's not too surprising considering the price point. And to be honest with you, if you're looking at one of these mouthpieces, I would just go and get a Rovner ligature. They're inexpensive. I mean, I've got a super vintagey one here that I've had for maybe, gosh, 20, 25 years. There's a million versions of these. They're not expensive and they work great. The other thing I found, I'm not a massive fan of it on soprano. Now, this is just personal taste, right? Mouthpieces are very personal. I can just tell you my impression of it. For me, I found it a little bit too bright on the soprano, but I like it on the alto. I really like it on the tenor, and it's absolutely fantastic on the bari, actually. It makes playing the bari sax much easier for me because I don't play bari that often, and it means I can get a really good, clear sound really easily with quite a light setup, and I can also, you know, bark out, get quite an aggressive sound on it as well. Also worth mentioning that if you do buy the bari sax version of the JDX, it comes with one of these Rovner style ligatures. So I really like the JDX. I tell you what, this is going to be hanging around in my standard kit for quite a while, I think, because it's fun. And you know, there's something to be said for an inexpensive setup. That means if I did lose this or it got broken or something, I could just get another one. It's going to be exactly the same and it's going to play great and it's not going to cost me a fortune. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this. But what do you think about it? Let me know in a comment what you think about the sound when I'm playing it, or if you're already playing this mouthpiece, I'd love to know your comments down below as well. And of course, if you do want to check out what we're doing at Sax School, don't forget to check out that 14-day trial down there. But for now, go check out these other mouthpiece reviews and I hope they help you. I'll catch you next time.